Experience. Pat Mayo Experience. Pat Mayo Experience. Pat Mayo Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, presented by Underdog Waste Management. Phoenix Open, final bets, DK picks, and a lineup review. We're going to build some on the show with the help of Tambo, who's on the line right now, while we go over the weather, one and done, and all that fun stuff. Did you know, Tambo, once we finish this live show, I'll have the time codes populated in the description so you can jump around to whatever you want. Well, you don't need to jump around to whatever you want because you've already heard the show because you're doing it.
That's it. I did know that, though, because I go back and make sure, see how the show's doing, see if anybody has any comments, questions, concerns, and you do put the timestamps in there, or somebody does each week from the team at Mayo Media Network, so we appreciate that.
Yeah, that we very much do. It is me who goes through it because I take the notes as we go along. It's just easier. I don't want to have to put it through chat GPT, let it spit out wrong time codes back to me. Now, I want to be precise with that. We will be taking questions towards the end of the show. If you're in the live chat right now, that is up on YouTube and my X account at the PME if you're streaming it that way. Let's jump into it. Scottie is back. You were so correct about his ownership last week. I'm actually, quite frankly, shocked how many. Had I have known so many people were going to play him on DraftKings, I probably wouldn't have played him.
Yeah, maybe I'll be right about him again this week when we talk too. We'll see. What do you got him at?
I mean, I boosted him up after seeing what happened last week. I think he's going to be around like 50%.
Okay. Oh, wow. So you're higher than me this week. So I was going over 40, and I don't think people were all the way there. Most of the ownership projections have them, now boosted closer to 37, 38. I definitely now will go over 45. I just keep looking at it. I just don't see any ways under. So we're on the same page.
So I'm looking at Fantasy National right now, fantasynational.com/Mayo to get all the real-time info on this. And sometimes you have to balance what you see, the act, because it's not factoring in that people are just going to jam Scottie into lineups. So the ownership on him right now is 31%, but I can see of I think it's 4,500 people who've generated lineups so far, he's out in 53% of those lineups. So although the calculation, when you put it into the formula, doesn't quite add up, when you see the actual, people are generating him at such a high rate, they're going to find a way to get him in. And frankly, with the pricing, it's not that hard.
It's so simple to get him in. That's the key factor. And also the biggest notes were a couple things. One, they didn't bring back the 5K range, which means the 6K guys are actually really good golfers. So it's kind of where you have to, and you don't even have to land in there. You can go Scottie 5, 7K guys and be done with it. But also the guys after him are tricky to get to. Not everybody feels super comfortable playing Sam Burns at 10K or Corey Connors 9,700, all these other prices that you'll see as we go through it. So that's another factor as well. It's it doesn't feel like there's much competition for him.
We'll jump to that in a bit, but do you envision yourself building non-Scottie lineups, or are you just going to jam them?
I always do. I don't jam anybody, so I'm definitely going to build non-Scottie lineups. There's the main possibility of it, and the reason is because, I'll have a huge amount of him. There's definitely possibilities that some of those Scottie lineups have too many busts in them, right? It's still a cut event, and it's never high 6 of 6s at the Waste Management Phoenix Open. It's always low. So if those Scotties are all 5 of 6s, those aren't going to play well over the weekend, even if Scottie does go on to get the victory. So that's why.
I wanted to congratulate you on getting a Fantasy Golf World Championship seat. That's awesome. I almost won. I was live to win the 200K with 5 holes to go, and everything broke my way until the moment it didn't. I was winning the $6 as well. I mean, how high? Because you had the same lineup I did. It was one that we built on the show last week. It was the only Rory and Lowry exposure I had over 60 lineups, was the one that we built on the show. And frankly, it saved my week. I still won a bunch of money, but the Cam Davis up and down on 18, I figured cost me approximately $7,300.
Yeah, that's what it was. And thank you. Of course, it's nice to get one early. I will say that. We've had some good run from the show already. The 40K lineup was one we were close to building on the show earlier this season. And then now that, and it was definitely the Cam Davis thing. On Saturday night after 3 rounds, I was sitting second, third, and fourth in the 4 Fantasy Golf World Championship qualifiers that I played. And there were 4 separate tournaments. And I was like, can I just get 1 seat, please? And that lineup without Cam Davis finished 3rd in another one. So I almost had a chance at up to 4 seats, but I'm very happy to get 1, considering I didn't get any seats last year until the very last week of the season. So happy to get 1 early on, and we got to keep the momentum rolling now.
Well, I talk about run good in that sense that, like, because we built out, we said that, Scheffler and Lee Hodges are going to be paired together so much. Everyone really likes Lee Hodges down at the bottom, and he was a great play until he wasn't, when he made a quadruple bogey on the final hole. And it dropped him from, if he had just made a double bogey, he still would have cashed those top 20 bets. But he made the quad. I think it dropped him down to 30th, from like 10th to 30th. So that was just a huge, like, you lose all the placement points, you get the negative towards the end, and that's what you're building towards. And then Tom Kim puts it in the ocean as well. If he birdies there, it kind of fucks everything up at the same time too. So I'm looking at it like, man, as long as Cam Davis doesn't birdie this hole, we are looking good. And then I see him in the tree roots. It's like, this is amazing. And then I said it on the Monday show that when he hit the shot and then it was the spinner and it just stopped next to the hole, my first reaction wasn't like, oh my God, this just screwed me so badly. It was, man, what a shot.
Yeah, it's fun. It's funny. Sometimes that stuff gets you and you're like, how does this go against me? But on something like that, it was just such an incredible shot. The problem with it, like you said, some people don't know the brutality of PGA DFS. Many do, but just to note it, like, that was not only I think it was bogey free, a birdie, all 4 under 70, plus the placement point jump. Like, it was all these things together, just an insane total points that you get off just one crazy good shot. So that's PGA DFS. That's why it's never over till it's over. I needed Straka I needed him to hit those 2 bogeys before the birdie. Otherwise I was screwed. So luckily I got bogey, and those were some short putts on a couple of those. So yeah, you're sweating it till the very end at tournaments like that. In most cases, that's just the game that we play. It makes it fun.
Good news as well that the lineup or the underdog entry that we built on the show last week, and I put it out in the newsletter. The newsletter will be coming out this evening. You can get it on X as an article or just sub to the Mayo Media Substack. That's down in the description right now, completely free. Just get it sent to your inbox with all the final plays, weather updates, and any notes that I see coming through. Really help us out. But code Mayo at underdog right now gives you a $15 free play. But we built one last week that was Jason Day top 20 along with everything else. So both of the golf and Super Bowl ones I put in for Pebble Beach are now still live going into the Super Bowl, which is really nice. And now I'm thinking this week, the Gala top 20 along with 2 plays, maybe.
Could be sneaky. I guess I'm thinking DFS range later, but I don't know what's going to happen there. Like, there's Thigala, Kim, Straka, Hogarth, but I guess the odds are going to be similar on most. You like Thigala the most out of that grouping?
I do. I mean, he's finished inside the top 5 2 of the 3 times that he's played this, and I guess that will lead off my bets for the week because Thigala is my top of the board right now. Now, I do have a 30% boost at 365. I mean, they offer it up to everyone on Wednesday, so I was waiting to make one final play with that, be it someone in the mid-range and get, a 70 up to 100 or something, or do I take a look at the top? Because you can bet right now. I was looking at it this morning because there's the non-Scottie market. So I played Thigala at 45 to 1 to win, but I also played him 35 to 1 in the non-Scottie market just because I thought that was a really good number that FanDuel was hanging earlier on in the week. But I believe it is 14 to 1. If you use your boost on Justin Thomas, you can get him up to 14 to 1 without Scottie. And I think you can get basically Hideki at the same number he currently is, 17 to 1. But with that boost, you can get him up to 17 to 1 without Scottie too. That's what I was looking at. I see a lot of people betting Tom Kim, even going back to Straka. I get it. Like, I think Hideki would be the guy that I would want who's not Scottie from the top.
Yeah, I feel better about that too. This week, I used Hideki last week in one and done, and because I just was trying to squeeze play the middle. I know some were saving him for here versus, I didn't want to. I almost played Ludwig last week, which I'm glad I didn't because he WD'd. But I ended up going with Hideki and not going with somebody bigger. But the sense of what you're talking about, it makes it just tricky for this week because it's, once we talk about Scottie, that's going to be about it. But I was thinking more on the Thigala thing you were just talking about. I looked it up while you were talking, and man, it's the results here are good, but he just has not been playing very good the last 4 or 5 outings. And last week he got worse as the week went on.
He
by
did.
The looks of it too.
Although Torrey Pines is a little bit misleading. He shot 80 in the final round. He was inside, I think he was inside the top 10 going into the final day, and just it got away from him early, and that was the end of him. But we see this with Thigala, as Jeff pointed out, like, he doesn't normally stay down from long unless this is actually like a big downtrend. Right now in his game, he'll need to try to get back, but he tends to play well at the places where he has played well in the past. And I was actually somewhat encouraged to see that his irons were a little bit better last time around, that maybe he can make some putts. He putts really well on these surfaces. He can go full driver here, which is a spot where he hadn't improved a lot a year ago. That I think when I'm thinking about outright bet in a market with Scottie, and even without Scottie, like who can get to the top? I don't really care if they come in fourth place. I care if they can win. And that's how I kind of designed my card this week. Like it's not the most consistent guys that I'm going with, but it's the ones that I think have the most upside to actually, if they're there, can they pull through?
Right. Yeah, no, it makes sense then. Yeah, and I'm with you on that. I'm still with you on the Hideki versus anybody up top there if you're going there. I like that.
I did see a cool bet head to head. It was Hideki plus 245 over Scottie.
It's Scottie, man. Like it's
I get that, but those are probably for a head to. That's probably the most lopsided head to head I've ever seen. With it, like it featuring like, yeah, it's Scottie, but it's not like it's Charlie Hoffman against Scottie.
Yeah, I think it's like more of a. It has to make sense, I guess, when you reverse engineer it. Like his win equity is just what is it, triple or quadruple Hideki? So if they're playing against each other, I mean, if he's going to win, he's going to beat him. So it's I don't know. It's all how you look at it, but it's just really tough to. A lot of things are going to look good if you're going to go against Scottie, but you're going against Scottie and you have to know what that looks like this week.
Yeah, you can get Hideki up to 15 to 1 in the non-Scottie market. And I'm actually seeing a 20 to 1 on Bet365 for him right now anyway, just to win outright. So that might be the last one. That I will include in the newsletter. So just to quickly recap the bets, Theegala 35, no Scheffler. Theegala 45 with Scheffler. Nick Taylor 65 to 1. Akshay, I have him at 65 to 1. He's up to 75 to 1 right now. And I bet Min Lee at 75 to 1 as well. I just think that those guys have the most upside for a win at the prices they're at. I'm still circling around JT Poston as well. He's someone that I find very intriguing this week. And then, I played some bombs basically for the placement points. If any of these guys come inside the top 8, I'm going to win money this week. I got Chuck Hoffman 100 to 1 with the 8 places. Nikolai Højgaard 100 to 1 with 8 places. Nikki Dunlap 125 to 1 with 8 places. CT Panamaniacs Unite 150 to 1 with 8 places. And then my guy, Rico Hoey, 200 to 1 with 8 places as well. So hopefully he can do something and not actively put himself out of a tournament. I did post on X last night, like a scorecard, like the stats card of someone. If Robert McIntyre wins this week, and I bet him each of the past 2 times he's played, I'm going to be furious, but that dude cannot putt right now.
I really like him this week. I don't know about winning, but I like him for sure when we get to DFS. I will say on that card, though, a Minwoo Lee win in Phoenix at this tournament would be electric. That would just break the place. That would be incredible.
I was actually thinking about doing a show. Like I'm going away in a few weeks, and then I'm going away a couple times over the next few months to pile up some shows. Like what would be fun content? Like Jeff and I are going to do our majors preview. Maybe we'll get DGen on that one too. The show that the 4 of us did together, I thought was awesome. By the way.
Yeah, but people have a lot of good feedback. Usually you don't get people DMing you about a show and saying how much they liked it. I don't know if they just wanted to keep their thoughts private or if they just loved it that much, but a lot of good feedback on that show because we just said it like it is.
Yeah, and I didn't realize that James hated Rory so much, and now it's the year of Rory. We'll see if that ends up coming to fruition once major season comes around. But I thought that since sports is so rigged, now that's what everyone seems to think now on the World Wide Web, that maybe we do like the top 5 things the PGA should do if they're actually rigging this. Like Rory McIlroy wins the Masters. Bryson DeChambeau wins the U.S. Open. Jordan Spieth finishes the Grand Slam and it comes out of nowhere to win the PGA Championship. Like, what are the things that the PGA Tour could do to rig golf that would actually make people tune in? Like, people would want to see this.
Like trading Luka to the Lakers.
Exactly. Or just calling all the penalties against the Eagles and not the Chiefs. But this is what I have right now for the underdog play. And I'll put this into the live chat. If you're watching after the fact and you want to find the link, just click on live chat replay at this moment in time and it should pop up. I got Jalen Hurts, anytime touchdown. Patrick Mahomes, first rush attempt higher than 4.5 yards, and then Sahith Theegala better than 20.5 finishing places. So a top 20 for Sahith Theegala, and that pays, what does that pay? That pays 6.5 to 1. And if you use code Mayo, you get like a free Kelsey square to throw onto that. That would bring it to, I think, 13 to 1. You can use your free play on it, the $15 free play that if it doesn't win, you get your money back on it. There's a ton of money at Underdog this week that I mean, obviously I get paid to promote Underdog, but even if I didn't, I would say Go to any of the sports books, go to Underdog, wherever it is. And this week, Underdog for Super Bowl is just giving away like cash if you want it.
Should take free cash. It's a good idea.
It is. It's really the best bet for someone who loses as much as I do. That taking the free cash is very beneficial to keeping a bankroll.
Yes, good idea. Good call. I like that tip.
So Poston and Hideki are the two I'm circling around to finish off this card, although I'm terrified of Scotty. Scotty conversation coming in a sec. Liv, I bet Louis at 26, the Burmista Mista lady at 36-1, and Tom McKibben at 65-1. We've seen these new guys just pop up on Liv and win right away, so why not McKibben?
Yeah, prove everybody wrong. He just had a comment come out saying that, he doesn't really care about Rory's thoughts because he got one, I'll get a lot of experience around these guys, gain a lot of knowledge, and two, I wasn't in the majors anyway, so I don't really give a shit. So yeah, I like that attitude, and maybe he comes out and gets the job done.
He's been playing a little bit as well. Like, not all these guys have been, Bryson just played in India a week ago, and this one's going to be on FS2 and FS1 on Fox this week. It's Under the Lights in Riyadh, but it's happening at like 10 a.m. in the morning, I think Eastern time in North America. So it's really weird to try to figure it out. And then Cutter hardly knew her. Joe Dean, the birdie machine, 66-1 with 5 places. And then Baroff sold me on Tapio Pukanen, the Finnish dude who wears the fedora. He's 200-1 in a bomber heavy Qatar matchup. And I played him at 11-1 top 10 as well to make sure, I can get a piece of that. And I played Nate Lashley, first round leader in Phoenix. You know who's one name that I was thinking about now that it looks like he's healthy, playing some better golf, who should really thrive in Phoenix is Jake Knapp.
I heard a couple people that like this guy this week, so maybe it's a spot. It's definitely a field that we could see him beat up on. He's only 6,800 on DraftKings. That's interesting, but we can build with him later, Pat. That's what we can do.
Yeah, well, I mean, I threw this out on the show and I put it into the article as well. And then Alex Blickel got back to me on this. Obviously, I've done some of the research shows with him in the past. He's over at FTN. Great dude. Played on the Corn Ferry Tour for a while. He was pumped to see Andrew Novak doing well because he remembers when Andrew Novak was coming up because he was still playing at that time. But he sent me a DM about a comment I had made. And I'll put this in the newsletter as well. I just want to make sure that I find it. It was just that I made the point that you just see a lot of players who do well at US Opens do well at Waste Management. I couldn't figure out really why that is. Like, they don't really seem like, they're both driver heavy type tournaments. So yeah, they favor the big drivers, but we've just seen the class of player come through in Phoenix time and time again. And he just says, check out similar course fit models. So he sent me like their weighted models on the course fit, player expectation, US Open versus Waste Management. And they were really, really, really similar. And he was just like, he's like, they're different style of tournaments. They're different types of courses, obviously. Completely different setups when you have the USGA coming in. But he said, I think that Scottsdale does it by having so many high leverage shots, like the tee shot on 17, where if you hit a good drive, it's such a massive advantage on that hole. And I had made mention of number 15, where if you hit your second shot, like if you go big driver, big, 3-wood, big long iron, whatever it is, and you're able to get it to the green in 2 on 15, it's such a massive expectation for win probability over not making that shot, either laying up or going into the water. Like, that hole could be you see double bogeys made on that hole. It could be a 4-stroke swing on that hole. If you can make eagle on 17 or even birdie on 17 in the final round when it's in that tough pin placement at the back, that's probably a 1.5 shot advantage on the rest of the field. So maybe that's what it is. These high leverage spots where you can really swing a tournament in your favor, and the big guys end up, the guys who perform at major championships can do it here as well.
I think it definitely favors those that are aggressive. I've been there 5 times now live, and I've watched a ton of shots. And just if you go back, obviously now having all the stats that you can go through and check it all out as well. But guys that go for it and get it out there and go for the green, that's going to be what it's favored in the past, and that's going to continue to be that way, the way the course is set up. And even if you do it a good, the one thing that always gets me, and I remember him in tears going back to your Thigala thing.
Yeah,
man, that shot was it seemed so unlucky. Maybe it was bad, I don't know, but it just, the way it tipped out to the left and then trickled in, and I was like, oh man, like I felt so bad for that guy. I thought he was going to get the job done at that one.
So yeah, those are the bets. I've run through them all. I mean, going back to what I was talking about earlier about guys that can actually win. That's why I have Dunlap on the card. Like, he might come dead last, and he sucks at driving the ball relative to people in the rest of the field. But that's like, I kind of went with him because he's won twice in his rookie year. He continues to flash good putting upside and big iron upside. He's going to be aggressive. So I just hope he doesn't hit it into the cacti patch, and he'll be good to go there. And then with Nikolai Højgaard, Rasmus is getting all the buzz right now, but don't forget like where he has played well in the past. Like Torrey Pines played really well at the Masters, driver heavy courses, and even picked up a win in the desert in the Middle East 2 years ago at the end of the DP World Tour season. So I think this might be a nice venue for him. We've all kind of forgot about him, and now we're getting a pretty class player at triple digits. Like when you go back and look at the winners, and I've gone through this a few times, that it's all real dudes. Like there's no absolute goobers who win this tournament.
Yeah, that's the thing about it. And that's, how it's kind of been. So I would expect the same. And that's why, if you're betting these cards with the Scottie market, a lot of this talk and a lot of these cards could just be dead on arrival, but it's fun to still talk about it and go through it and hope, right, to make sure we have an opportunity.
Well, that's why I bet Nick Taylor. Like, I don't think that Nick Taylor is going to win, but if you want to give me 65-1 odds on a guy who's won 5 times, won this last year and came second the year before, like it's probably a better bet than, I don't know, Bo Hostler at the same number.
Yeah, I think there's at least some more strategic angles that you're taking versus others just sort of betting by the number based on what it is and just going up against Scottie. That's the difference.
Yeah, the other one would be Akshay, like you said. I agree with you. Like when I was there, like you see how aggressive you need to be to make birdies, and I don't know if there's a player who's more aggressive right now than Akshay.
Yeah, I got to be willing to take that on this week too and just go with it because it can blow up in your face. There's still water around there. There's big mistakes that can be made too, but that's what it's all about, especially in these tournaments. So looking for these ceiling opportunities, and it's hard enough to get 6 of 6 at this tournament. So taking on some more leverage is definitely a good idea, and finding ways to risk it and go for it.
Weather for the week. This looks like the best tournament of the year for weather.
Looks good.
Right now, I don't see wind gusts. Like you have your general wind. Nothing is going to be breaching 7 miles per hour the entire week, with gusts capping out at 10 miles per hour. And the coldest that they're going to be, 59 degrees for the first players on the course on Thursday and Saturday. After that, it's mid 60s up to mid 70s by the afternoon. Like this is the type of weather you want if you are hosting a golf tournament. Now, as viewers, I actually kind of like Saturday at Pebble when there was mist and wind and it was cold and guys didn't know what to do. I find that to be a fun viewing experience. I also don't want to see that every week. And I definitely don't want to see that here. I want to see, like, this tournament is supposed to be fun. I know that people don't listen much to when I talk about MTV's The Challenge that much, but they've taken that too seriously now, like over the past 5 years. Like they're really trying to like, oh, this is like CrossFit Games with a reality spin. It's not Carnival Games where people are getting drunk and having fun anymore. And the ratings have fallen off of a cliff. Why? Because the show is supposed to be fun. You want to see people goofing around and having a good time. This tournament is exactly the same. I don't need to have like a nail biter, and stakes at the end is great because this tournament basically goes to a playoff every single year. But I want to see the fans having fun. I don't want to see them wearing like rain ponchos and freezing to death. I want to see them out there having a few beer, not being too crazy, but crazy enough to make it entertaining.
Yeah, that's exactly what. Last year, the problem was, I know everyone talks about last year because it got really out of hand, and I was there. That was the setup where it rained so much going in that it was just a mud fest. You lost all the green space where people could usually stand, and then it got so out of control that on, I think it was day 3 on the Saturday, where they actually just stopped checking tickets and people were getting in without getting scanned in. So they hit capacity. They were well over. Everybody was drunk. The fire marshals had to shut it all down, or maybe they just said that because they wanted to clear people out. But it was brutal from that perspective. But overall, it's a fun tournament otherwise. And yeah, I think another reason a lot of the same golfers come back and do well here is because you have to be able to play within that environment. And that's certainly a thing also.
Let's talk one and done. We circled around the correct solution last week, and I was too big of a coward to actually pull the trigger on Rory. So that sucks for me. I ended up using, like, in the spot where I was going to use Rory, because remember we talked about how Ludwig was looking like a pretty good leverage play, both on DraftKings and in the one and done. Well, it turned out he was like everyone thought the same thing, and that he was the 4th highest owned guy in the one and done. So that did not work out. Then he withdrew. So he got like the minimum amount of money anyway. So I'm hurting in the one and done right now. I need to pick someone good here. Obviously, you do not want to burn Scottie. I'll throw that out. I mean, maybe you do. I don't know. I don't think that you should burn Scottie at a non-elevated event. That's just me.
Yeah, and that's fair. And I will say too, that's the other funny thing. I joked earlier about the DMs coming in on that show we did. The other thing the DMs fly in for is one and done. And I forgot, Pat, that early in the season, when everyone still has a shot and is live in the one and done, there's not much one and done talk out there. So a lot of people are tuning into this, getting the thoughts and ideas, and that's where you're seeing some of that ownership sway to, oh, it sounds like he's going to be a good leverage play. Let me move on to him instead. And then you see that ownership go up. So I think you're moving the needle on that when it comes to things early while everybody still feels live. That's what it is.
There's that, and the contest is named after me, so I'm sure
Correct.
that a lot of people heard about it through the show anyway, so they're hearing us talk about it right now.
They're checking in for the takes right now is what I'm saying, because they're live. They've got opportunity still.
So what do you think is the move here? Like, I have everyone available to me outside of Scottie Scheffler on one team because I used him last week, hoping to catch it. And Scheffler was the correct play in one and done. I think that was the best spot to use him because I think he came in with like 1.9% ownership.
Okay. What about the thing you said that stood out to me earlier? What about Nick Taylor? Well, he's playing good. Nobody thinks you can win twice. We don't even think he's going to win here because everyone thinks Scottie is going to win. But if anybody's saving Nick Taylor, aren't they saving him for the tournament? His logo, his picture is now the logo at the Canadian Open, expecting it there. You could just use him up because you're not using him at an elevated event, most likely.
I like that. That's where these are the guys that I'm putting through my head. Like, who am I not going to use at an elevated event? The only one that's like of a good player that I could see using would be Hideki. Where am I going to use Hideki? I mean, I bet him to win the PGA Championship along with Tyrrell Hatton, but that was more odds-based than everything else. Like, when I get there, I might use Bryson. Who knows? Or
he's also impossible to figure out. The spot for Hideki is one could be here, but then people are going to talk about this too, of Hideki playing a bunch of weeks in a row now. Do you care about that?
I mean, he basically didn't play last week, so it was like a bye week for him. He's just out there strolling, not making shots.
Yeah, I agree. So I guess that's the only takeaway I would say. But otherwise, I have no clue where else I would be saving him for. He can pop at any given moment, any given time, the way he plays. So why not use him up now? He's still been doing pretty good leading up till last week, of course, right? So I'd be fine with that too.
Has he played that many weeks? He didn't play the American Express, did he?
Or maybe he took 1 week off. Yeah, he did. I think it's like 4 of the last 5 or something.
Yeah, but this will be the third week in a row that he's played. So
yeah,
I'm dubious about Sungjae. Maybe that's a look, but I think there are better spots to use him at. Like, this is kind of where I'm struggling a little bit. Like, I might use Sahith in a spot. Billy Horschel, maybe. I'm not using him anywhere else. You mentioned Robert McIntyre. That's somewhat interesting. Maybe this is
another guy. I don't know where you'd save him for, but definitely interesting for sure.
All right.
Spieth. What about Spieth?
Spieth actually played really well on Sunday at Pebble. Like, the first 3 rounds were pretty brutal, but like, he gained everywhere. He was one of the leaders in approach. He didn't drive the ball all that well, but that had been a skill that he had been harnessing. And that was actually where he was the best over the past 18 months. I mean, I would love there, if like I was scripting out how this ends up working, Spieth beats Scottie in a playoff in Phoenix this week. That would be top notch for the PGA Tour.
Yeah, that'd be nuts. The one thing I worry a little bit about with the Sunday Spieth stuff is it just because he's obviously dead? Like, he's dead. They were showing Birdie. Oh, look at Spieth. He's on such a good round. He was, I believe, 17 strokes back or something.
Oh, yeah. Like, listen, when you're coming off of, like, it's one thing when you're Scottie, you have this hand injury. We don't even really know what it is. How do we cap how he's going to do? It was absolutely fine. And he's the number 1 player in the world. You expect him to be really good. Like, Spieth wasn't great anyway. And he's coming off of wrist surgery, where he wasn't able to swing a club for 4 months or whatever it might have been. So it was really interesting to see, when you take a look at his numbers, he was actively bad the first 3 rounds. On approach, minus 1.5, minus 1.4, minus 1.1. He lost 4 and a half strokes putting, in the 3rd round, lost 2 in round number 2. And he even lost 2.5 strokes off the tee in round 3 at Pebble Beach. Then you swing it back over and take a look at round 4. He was neutral off the tee, gained 2.3 strokes on approach. He gained 1.3 strokes putting. Now, I don't want to say that he's back in terms of where he was baseline before the injury, not back to being major championship winning Spieth, but this has always been a venue where he's been really good. And it's encouraging to see that he was able to break out of being really terrible hitting approach shots and hitting putts. I think there's more of an element of rust on Spieth in competitive play coming off a major surgery than there was with Scottie.
Yeah, and that's what I'm trying to figure out too, just because the other thing you said there that was key and it sort of stood out to me was even when I guess he was playing good last year before the 6th. That's what I was just trying to pull up live while you were talking through it, because he did finish 6th here last year, but he'd had good results. He was 39th at Pebble, 3rd at the Century, etc. Before that, when you go to the previous year, didn't really have much form coming into that year. He'd missed the cut at the Sony Open, a 63rd at Pebble Beach, and then just fires off a 6. So that is one thing about Spieth that we've seen at other courses at other times, especially in the darkest of times. He was still somewhat showing up at the courses that he typically shows up at. So that could be a thing on Spieth this week if you're thinking about it.
Spieth and one and done is what you're saying. That is the move.
I still like Nick Taylor. That makes more sense to me in my head.
I got 3 teams. I'll use Nick Taylor on one of the teams. I mean, I'm basically in dead last in this other one. Fuck it. Why not? Let's just use Jordan Spieth.
Great logic. We're good here. Yeah, perfect.
And then for my last team, I'll make a pick between that, like either Thigala, Minwoo, Akshay, Poston, Bobby Mack, like that. One of the guys from that range. Like, I'm not burning a top guy here. Maybe I should use Chuck Hoffman. I love Chuck Hoffman this week. So does everyone, but
so does everyone. That's going to end well.
Yeah, and with a win.
I don't want to boot. Yeah, I don't want to boost it or hurt it because what we just said. But what would you? I actually think this is going to be surprising. What do you think Scotty's ownership in the one and done is going to be this week?
4%.
I'd take the over.
I think people who play in this know what they're doing. I think.
Until they don't, like you say.
Maybe so. And maybe people see, like, I'm in 3900th is like the worst of my 3 teams. It doesn't mean anything. Like, one good week and I'm 500th. Like, it's not that big of a deal.
Oh, right. That's what I mean. Right now, nothing really matters. We've barely done anything. The one signature event last week, where I guess there was, what was it? Was there another one too already?
No, because the Century, this one starts, my one and done starts.
Oh, that's what it was. There was one, but it didn't count for one and done. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. So yeah, that solves that. So we'll see, but everybody's still very much live, of course. So I agree, but I like the Taylor call. I like the Spieth call. And I do think people, enough 5% or more will still play Scotty. So we'll see how that goes. They'll all get a win and laugh in our face, maybe. That's the part. But then they'll forget that they miss out on all the $5 million wins or whatever the big ones are later.
Well, that's the thing. Like, if you don't think that Scotty wins or comes top 3 in a signature event the rest of the season, by all means, use him in the one and done right now. That's the only way that makes sense. Like, yeah, you might get your win for $1.6 million, whatever it is, or he comes 3rd at the Players' Championship when you use him and he wins like $2.7 million.
That's the tricky, right? Because some people have a hard time figuring out which one is he going to pop at. I know for sure Scotty won a lot last season, and myself included, as well as others, did not land on the Scotty win still.
I did. Where did I had him at the Players, so that worked out well for me. There is one other name to throw by you that I was considering, because I don't want to bet him. I don't know what to do with him on DraftKings. And he might just be broken at the moment, although I bet Thigala, who looks like crap anyway, so may as well go for it. He was the first-round leader here a year ago. He's won a U.S. Open. His name is Wyndham Clark.
Yeah.
So
I'd rather burn Sam Burns.
Yeah, maybe.
But what's the difference? Like, Burns 3rd and 6th here, the last 2 years, 22nd, 29th, 8th, 14th. He's been fine. Where are you using Sam Burns?
Honda or Valspar or Colonial, one of those 3.
Yeah, you would know. I guess that's my point. Like, for most people, myself included, it's like, I don't know what I'm using when I'm using this guy. So if you got it mapped out like that, then by all means. But for me, I'd be fine with using Sam Burns here as well.
Sia in the chat. I see Sia. Shout out Sia. I was on Sia's show on the Monument Sports Network in DC last night. Their live show. It's the last week of that. So tune in if you're in the DC area and check out Sia every single weekday talking about all the bets. But he says he cannot believe that Sam Stevens is just going to win this week. It's crazy. I do like Sam Stevens this week. I spoke about it with Feinberg on Monday that it would make more sense that he wins this week because people are like waiting to play him in Mexico now.
Yeah. It's just funny. Like, we're going to get to it in a second anyway. We're almost there. So segueing it a little, but the guys that people are mentioning, like Hoffman and Stevens and these guys, like, there's like 60 guys this week on DraftKings that are going to be under 10%. And the only ones that people like are the ones that are going to somehow get to double digits. It's almost impossible to happen this week, but everybody loves the same guys. It is not going to end well. I promise you that right now. And we'll talk about it when we get to building the lineups.
Well, we will be getting to building lineups. And if you do have questions about your DraftKings lineups or on bets or on weather, whatever it might be, we'll be answering those questions towards the end of the show. But right now, I need to tell you a few things to get myself paid. We'll catch you on the other side. If you're someone who's ever taken a golf trip, I know you have the same experience I do, that you dread bringing your clubs to the airport, dealing with the baggage claim, and then crossing your fingers, hoping that they show up, because that is one of the most stressful parts about any golf trip, because you don't want to show up to your fantastic golf location. You're all excited to go there, and oh yeah, we lost your clubs. Even PGA Tour players deal with this. So every time I fly for a golf trip now, I am no longer dealing with the airlines and the baggage handlers to do that. I'm skipping the airport stress, the costly airline fees, and with the complimentary insurance, real-time tracking, dedicated support, and on-time delivery, ShipSticks is where I am going. I've already hooked it up for when I'm going to Pinehurst at the end of March. Me and Tim Butts' clubs are getting there via ShipSticks, so we can make sure that they are there before we show up, so that stress never enters a part of our life. You can travel worldwide without the luggage. ShipSticks delivers to over 180 countries, hassle-free, gear-free journey. Everything you need for your golf vacation will be there on time waiting for you with ShipSticks. Right now, ShipSticks is offering my listeners 20% off your first shipment when you go to shipsticks.com and use the code PatMayo. Go to shipsticks.com and use the code PatMayo to get 20% off your first shipment and save yourself the hassle this golf season. That's shipsticks.com, and make sure to use that code PatMayo so they know I sent you. If you're like me, the end of December really got you out of your regular routine. What you do the other 50 weeks a year did not apply to those 2 weeks. Family, kids, Christmas, whatever it is you're doing, it was difficult to do. Plus, it's cold out. That's never any fun. But the way that you can get yourself back on track, if you didn't in January already, is get some AG1 in your life the moment you wake up. That's what I do. Pour some water into my AG1 bottle. Boom. I take a scoop, AG1. Throw that in. I cut it with a little bit of orange juice just to make it more delicious. And since I'm going very, very weights heavy at the gym these days because I tore my calf muscle and can't run anymore, so I really got to bulk up, I've been throwing in a scoop of protein powder as well. Getting that all into me, firing it in, first thing I do when I wake up, and got to tell you, listen to the energy I have. It's never too late to create a new healthy habit for 2025, so try AG1 for yourself. It's something I've actually been able to stay consistent with, and that's why I'm so excited to be partnering with AG1. And AG1 is offering new subscribers a free $76 gift when you sign up. You'll get a welcome kit, a bottle of D3K2, and 5 free travel packs in your first box. So make sure to check out drinkag1.com/mayo to get this offer. That's drinkag1.com/mayo to start your new year on a healthier note. Welcome to the TGL presented by SoFi, golf's newest league. It's sharp. It's electric. How sharp is it? How electric is it? Good questions. Try this on for size. 2 hours of hammer-dropping, overtime, forcing, playoffs on the line, golf, with 24 of the best players from the PGA Tour, split into 6 teams: Atlanta, Boston, Jupiter, LA, New York, and The Bay Golf Club. This isn't your average Sunday pickup game. Tune into TGL Monday or Tuesday night only on ESPN. Claim yourself a seat for the first season of TGL now. Keep up. It's golf. Welcome back to the Pat Mayo Experience. You good people watching live or even after the fact, please smash the like button to the episode. That would really help out a lot. Sub to Mayo Media Network. Tambo, you know we're only like 900 subs away from 50,000 now?
Yeah, we're racing you, man. We've got the Ship Nation channels. It's 9.65K. We're trying to get to 10K, but you're trying to get to 50. We're all trying to get there together. Just help out. Make sure you smash the like, subscribe to the channel, and keep getting this content for free. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's funny. I just looked at the chat. We're going to be taking questions towards the end after we build some lineups this week. And someone's like, am I the only one who got a 5-minute AG1 commercial midstream? You are not the only one. So we pay the bills around here, pal. You smashed the like too. Okay.
And it was less than 4 minutes. It was less than 4 minutes.
And there were 3 ads in it. It wasn't just one big, long AG1 ad. Although, as I pointed out in that ad, doing the bulking season right now, Tambo, just getting wrapped because I can't run. Although I went to physio again. I can start running again, start like losing weight.
busting out of the shirt over there. Look at this guy, man.
I know. Well, the problem is like I put on so much bulk in my upper body right now is that my pants still fit, but none of my shirts fit all that well because I've just grown right up here. So it's a tremendous problem to have, apparently.
The problem is I put on so much bulk in my upper body. What a statement.
Yeah, listen, you gotta work till failure, and then all of a sudden you see massive gains all the time. All right, DraftKings picks. Let's talk Scotty. Let's pull up Scotty right now. $12,000. Put him on the screen. How do we build? What do you think the most common lineup build with Scotty is going to be?
Scotty with 5-7K guys.
With 5-7s? Then who are the 5-7s? So Hoffman.
Now, let's go down and look now. And I'll have a better idea today now that I got some updated stuff here. Let me see.
Hoffman for sure. Glover.
Because
Glover, Billy Ho.
Glover. Glover's in there for sure. Billy Ho you can put in there too. Yeah.
Stevens.
Sam Stevens you can put in there. You might not need Hoffman, to be honest. I know everyone says that, but I don't know if they need him. We'll have to wait and see.
That gets you, that gets you Akshay if you want him. I totally forgot Scam Young was playing in this tournament. He's 8,100. So that leaves you.
And Carson Young is in the field as well, too. So remember how that always works out.
So bet Carson Young. Sportsbook should offer that every single week, a head-to-head between Cam Young and Carson Young. But right now, that leaves us with Akshay, Cam Young, Poston, Siwoo, Spawn, Minwoo, Davis Thompson, if this is the build that we go with, unless there's someone else in the mid-7s that you see that you think is more popular than Horschel. Maybe it's Novak.
It's Spawn and Novak rounds it out. That's the lineup. And then million 2v2s off of it. But that's the lineup right there for what's popping.
So Scheffler, Novak, Glover, Stevens, Horschel, Spawn. I doubt that you're going to see that you're going to play many Scotty with 5. How do you change this to make it more palatable for you, do you think?
Sorry, I was going to say that actually. So I've been back and forth on this all night pretty much, just thinking about it coming into the show this morning, because as I was saying earlier, there were so many guys in the 7K range. So I have the exact number from someone who people will actually play in the 8Ks, in the lower 8Ks that can work with this type of build, Nick Taylor, down to say Sam Ryder, who may get a little bit of love because of his history at 65. That is 70 golfers in between that you can play. So it's kind of like we're playing, it's kind of like, the game Yahtzee, Pat?
Yes.
And you roll 5 of the same dice and you get the highest score. It's Yahtzee Scheffler, right? Instead of Scotty, because you're playing Scotty, you got to roll the other 5 dice and you got to land on the exact combination of the same to get the most points. And so I think you can actually still build the exact same way. You just need a bunch of leverage combinations. It's not that I'm not going to build different styles of Scotty lineups. And people have hit me up this week because I was talking about building in sets. That's like a weather edge, a wave advantage. If you're building Scotty lineups and not locking him this week, you're playing 75% Scotty, let's say. Clearly, you have 2 lineups. You have Scotties and non-Scotties. That's not really building in sets. You're just building lineups with and without Scotty. If anything this week, you could almost build sets within your Scotty lineups of roster construction styles. Because I think you could just play 5-7K guys that it's going to be your week, Pat. You like a bunch of, outside of your Hoffman and other guys that you like, there's going to be a ton of guys. You can just play your guys with him and you'll be different. Because while you're in a similar build style, so is everybody else, it's going to be who gets the right leverage combination together properly. That's it.
So right now in the 7s, the ownership that I'm seeing trickle through the most are the guys that we built with. It's Glover, Horschel, Novak, Stevens is kind of the 4. Then Chuck Hoffman would be the next one coming in at 72, at least by my numbers. After that, you got like Keith Mitchell, Woodland. Why do people play Woodland every week?
I forget. They loved him the week he WD'd, and then I'm not sure what happened last week exactly. But
he was 22nd last week. He actually wasn't that bad. No, maybe there is a reason to use him. He does have a top 25 in 4 of his past 6 starts. So I guess it's not as bad as maybe in my mind how it is. And he has won here before, and he's won a U.S. Open. That's how you have to end up looking at this stuff when I'm going through it. But Hoagie, Spawn, Berger, Minwoo at 79. But we're talking like I'm already into the single digits in ownership when I'm talking about these guys. Like there's only so much ownership that can be put on them. I'm kind of curious to see, like, could you play like a double stud with Scheffler, or do you have to double stud someone else? Like, could you go Hideki Scheffler?
You could definitely do that. Yeah.
So let's do that. Do you want to build off of this Scheffler with other guys, maybe go into the 6s, then up into the 8s, or do you want to go Scheffler Hideki for the next lineup?
We're going to go Scheffler Hideki, but I will just say, well, you had those guys up there quick. Like there's literally a scenario this week where I'm sure people will just delete those 5 7K guys out of their player pool and build. And you hope 3 of them miss the cut, because people miss the cut here, man. It's like, this is every year. No shit. I'm saying, like, I mean it of like DFS purposes. 6-6 lineups are not common. If you go to Cut Sweats and run the history and go back through the previous years, you got to look it up sometimes on X or something and figure it out. But 6-6 is not very prevalent. You're putting Scottie in. You could literally, and yeah, one or two of those guys could do really well, but somebody else could match them or come close. But you've got more 6-6 combinations with the second one of that group that's needed. So it's a little bit of FOMO, but you could probably just start your player pool this week, X those 5 guys out we just had, and build different styles of Scottie lineups and get away with it and hope to have more 6-6s than the field.
Well, let's do that. Let's take those 5 guys out and replace them with 5 guys. So we're not going to use any of those 5 for this lineup. Let's take Eckroat. I like Eckroat.
Okay.
We're Dietrich.
All right. Where do these guys relate to like your Panimal and Minwoos and some of those other guys you were talking about earlier?
Oh, yeah, I mean,
Hoey.
Well, Hoey's like way down at the bottom, isn't he? Hoey's 6,700.
We can use him later in the Decky one or something, but like Jake Knapp, any of those guys fit in, or we could save them for the double stud lineups?
Well, we'll save them for the double stud. I'm just thinking like if we just replace like 1v1 per player of the 7K guys, we rebuild it, Scottie, and a new set of 7K guys. If we just make sure we X out all of them. I mean, what we could do is go, where is Minwoo? Why can't I find him? There he is, 7,900.
Minwoo's 79.
So we can throw him in as well. Like, you want driver-heavy guys, and Eckroat's not a bomber, but he's very good with his driver. So that's the way that I would try to spin that one. Same as Akshay. He hasn't been as good recently, and he's not a bomber, but he hits so many fairways that allows him to get aggressive. Do you find it funny that everyone loved Harry Hall, and now no one wants to play Harry Hall?
Yeah, I'm always fine with that. I look at angles of attack like that, so I think it's fine to go to him here. He's 7,700. We could put him in this one.
Yeah, we could put him in this, and then you could round it out with like Keith Mitchell or Matthew Fitzpatrick, who kind of sucks now.
How much is he? Oh wow, 7,700.
You could play Ricky, Keith Mitchell.
Who am I missing though? That you got Eckroat, Dietrich,
Minwoo, Harry Hall.
Well, you can't get Fitz then, can you?
No, we're $100 short of that now.
I like the Keith Mitchell call though. If you're just throwing someone different than Novak and Stevens and those guys in there, so yeah, and it still actually projects really well. And even if Dietrich gets a little steam or anything like that, you still got some opportunity there. So I like that build. That's an example. If you're just, again, there's going to be so many variations of this, Pat. That's why I said the Yahtzee thing. It's you're putting Scottie, you're rolling the dice on the other 5, and you're hoping it's the right 5. It's that simple.
Keith Mitchell playing a lot better after his implosion in the swing season. Most people do not watch the swing season, but Keith Mitchell had Sanderson Farms 1. And when you see him, it's like, oh, Keith Mitchell had a good week. He came in 3rd place. Like, no, he gagged it away on the final few holes, as Keith Mitchell is wont to do when he is leading tournaments towards the end. And then for 4 consecutive tournaments after that, he played Utah, Shriners, Mexico, and the RSM, and he was a fucking disaster in all of those. He missed the cut in all of them. He wasn't even close in any of them. Since the start of the new year, he has finished. His worst finish was actually last week at Pebble, and he came T33. So maybe he's starting to get it back a little bit.
I'm fine with him here, especially in the range that he falls within. It's like, even if late steam or something hits him here, how does he get up in the range more than like Stevens, Novak, some of those other guys, and then on top of it, it's not like they're going to be super owned. It's just more of that's a way to get unique. So I like that call too. But let's go Decky and Scottie.
So what I'm seeing right now, if we sort by the salary ranges, that obviously Scheffler, I think he's going to be around 50% owned. After that, who do you think is going to be the highest owned of the next rung of guys? Because I'm seeing it pretty flat right now, that it's like 15% Thomas, 15% Hideki, 15% Burns. I do think that Burns and Sungjae or Tom Kim are the 3 guys that are paired up with Scheffler the most. I don't think it's going to be JT and Hideki just because it's too much money.
Yeah, I think it's JT if anything, but it's
really? Oh, you do think it's JT paired up with Scheffler the most?
No, I think it's what you said. If anything, once it goes away from the 7Ks, it goes to like Sungjae, for example. It'll be Scottie Sungjae and save all that money. But if you were asking like who do you think's higher owned at the top, I think JT comes in higher than Matsuyama right now. It's not by much, but I think it happens.
Oh, I jumped into the chat, and obviously the first thing I see, any conspiracy theories out there? All my old ones proved to be true. Canada Bros, you ready to be the 51st state? Untrue. Let's hide this guy from the channel. I don't like to hear talks about the sovereignty of my country. I don't appreciate it, Tambo, at all.
This is good stuff, man. The politics always find their way into everything. It's perfect.
Yeah, you got to. You know what I don't like? That. I like being, I enjoy my neighbors and, brothers in the United States and all my friends, place where I've lived. If I wanted to be American, I'd move to America.
Yeah, they keep telling me about the dollar's going to get crushed.
I mean, the dollar's always crushed. How is that any different?
I know. And also we get paid in American dollars. So,
yeah, so it works out great for us.
I'm like, thanks for letting me know.
Yeah,
my money's all worth more now. Sounds good to me.
Yeah. So Scheffler, Hideki, that leaves us with 69.50 left. So this is where we can start plunging into the sixes. Who are the 6K guys that you like? Like I said, I like Knapp. I like Rico Hoey.
I think I liked maybe your Panimal take.
Yeah, Pan's so weird though. Like when he pops bigly, and then then most of the time he just misses the cut.
Everything you just said is what people should embrace and take on, especially in a tournament like this. So I love it.
So yeah, he's 67. So we go Knapp, Hoey, Pan. Now we have $7,600 left. We're back into that exact same range we were just at.
Yeah, Keith Mitchell it is.
Keith Mitchell, you don't like, I mean, I like in a lineup like this, do I have to use Mitchell to be different over Ekro, Novak, Glover, Horschel, Stevens, like the very popular guys? Or do you think it's like, it doesn't matter, like all those guys are basically the same, so take whoever? Or like, would there be someone you'd be actively trying to miss from that range?
I'm literally just trying to miss anybody with ownership there. Like it can burn me, and it's like you don't need to. The actual answer is no. You can definitely get away with it and just play your Sam Stevens option there, no problem. So I'm fine with that. And look, it projects pretty good. But I'm just saying, if you already got Scottie at that ownership, Decky still has ownership. The combo of him and Scottie won't be popular, so that's what allows you to play your Sam Stevens play. I'm just saying, I think what people don't realize or look at enough is 6 of 6 rates at tournaments. They're typically pretty sticky. A tournament like this is extremely sticky, and it's because it's what you said. It rewards it rewards the bold. And if you know what happens if it doesn't reward you, it crushes you. And then those people fall off a map. And so tournaments like this, another one that's very similar to this, Pat, and not saying to compare players for course fit or something like this, but just to say the 3M plays very much like this. Like 5 of 6 is almost win at that tournament some years because of a similar standpoint. It's just everybody thinks everyone's super safe, and there's so much risk reward that it just crushes these plays that everybody think are the plays of the week. That's what happens.
Okay, so outside of the guys in the 6K range that I listed, are there ones that you like? Because I can tell you by the numbers, there's not a ton. Norlander. Why does Norlander always rate out so well? But he does, once again, per usual. Hayden Springer is one I really like at $6,400.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't hate that. I brought him up yesterday trying to look into him a little bit more and just think about it. Obviously, he had the good run at the Farmers, but right? That everyone was
big off the tee. Like he drives he did not drive the ball well during the swing season, but historically, he gains basically a stroke per tournament off the tee, most of that because of distance. Obviously, he did that at the Farmers and was able to bring along the rest of his game. One thing that I really do like about him is you see him at driver heavy courses, Sanderson Farms, Rocket Mortgage, even John Deere, where you can hit a bunch of drivers. He's played really well. Farmers, coming in 6th place. That's another one. He just seems $6,400 seems too low for him. Like he should be $7,000.
Yeah, I like popping out Hoey and Mitchell and putting in something like Springer and Minwoo or something. And Minwoo may be part of that conversation I just had. I'll have to wait and see how it goes as the day goes on. But just an example, if you had like Scottie, Decky, Minwoo, Knapp, guys that you all felt pretty comfortable with, yeah, there's ginormous risk on Pan and Springer lineups, but that's definitely what you could see at the top of the leaderboards this week with big scores that go with them.
Yeah. Any love for Ricky at all? This is
cheaper speed.
It's
he is playing better. I'll give him more than that. Actually, I'll give him better credit. But yeah, I guess yeah. Hard to say no. Really, like he's right there, and he kind of fits that same conversation piece we just had with some of those lineups. So I don't know. I don't love it, but yeah, it makes sense this week. If you're trying to get different in that range, he would be kind of a guy that fits there. Makes sense.
Chan Kim is another one by the numbers that he's ranked 10th over the past 36 rounds. And like the modeling that I put up, I'm like, well, Chan Kim sucks. So that can't be real. And I had to rework my model until like it basically told me like Scotty's the best player in this field. I need him to be head and shoulders above everyone else, or I know that it's wrong. So I was able to rig that way. And then all of a sudden, here's Chan Kim. Now, he had a nice run through basically the mid part of last year. He's been pretty bad recently. He did make the cut at the Farmers, and that was 5.7 strokes gained on approach. He gains on approach like every single week. He was gaining off the tee every single week, but he has not done that so far this year. So that is a problem for me. He was the one who won me the GPP last year. Remember at Honda, he had to come back in the morning and make the putt to make the cut?
Yeah. I do remember that now. And I think Baroff likes him this week too. He's been hot. He talked about him as well.
All right. So yeah, we can throw him into the player pool as well. If you wanted to get, like, for example, if you didn't want to use Jake Knapp or CT Pan, let's say we take CT Pan out of it and we use 4chan and we throw Chan Kim into this lineup at 66. That does buy us an extra $100 to get up to JT Poston or Siwoo off of Minwoo, if that's how you wanted to go. And I like Poston.
What do you got? Springer, Kim. Oh, you kept Knapp in.
Yeah, I mean, if you got off Knapp, you could get up to Cam Young, but I don't really care about that.
No, I want to leave that. I'm talking about, I would want Siwoo or Poston. Who do you like better between those two?
I actually like Poston better this week. He just won in the desert. I do think that there is a correlation of desert golf between a lot of these places, be it Amex. I mean, obviously, Siwoo has won Amex. So, what am I talking about? Poston just won in Las Vegas, and he's putted really well on these surfaces. Yes, we've seen Siwoo play well with the Players. Obviously, he won at the Players, but it's not a consistent thing with him, whereas Poston just generally plays well and putts well on those TPC Sawgrass surfaces. And now that they're both listed as the POA overseed, because that's what you're seeing in March in Florida right now at that course, very similar surfaces to what we're seeing right now in Phoenix. So guys that roll it well in Phoenix tend to roll it well at the Players right now with this time of year as well.
Yeah. So I like the Poston call there, because you mentioned him earlier too. Actually, that was another thing. So I'll go with him in that spot. Now, project's not terrible, Pat. It's like 12 or 15 points back from what we had previous.
All right. Is there any other iteration of a Scottie lineup that you want to go through? Do you think that those are the two main ways that people are going to try to play? Like, the only other one I can really think of is that, like, we do Scheffler Tom Kim or Scheffler Theegala. Like, what does that get you?
We've been having a good run on this show of building weird shit that ends up hitting.
Yeah. I'll say so.
Well, we got to continue it. I have to tell you this. You mentioned it earlier already, and I'm doing it.
Scheffler Spieth. The
Spieth playoff with Scheffler. Nobody else will have these lineups unless we build them on this show. So we have to give the people what they want. So we got to get these in there.
So that goes Scheffler Spieth, and you have 7,300 left for the final four spots. Like, where do you think the next logical move is? Do we continue to build the lineup like we just did? Like, do we just do we put in Pan and Springer and then get back into the 8Ks?
No, because it's different. This is the key that we've had success, Pat, is not just defining this is how it's going to go. It's we almost go Raza style with the skill set.
So,
last week, that was like
Ricky,
the Open, right? So we need some history and some style and some play. This Ricky fits this perfectly. Who else? And this is where you're the best at this stuff of knowing who these guys are. Like, we need some other dudes that make sense, that also sort of fit the mold of what we're building here, which is, these type of guys, creative styles around the course, have already had success here, course history,
Chuck
all
Hoffman.
of that.
Chuck Hoffman, Gary Woodland.
Let's go Hoffman Woodland for a second.
Hoffman.
And I know I said about Hoffman earlier, but he didn't actually make that first five that I talked about. So
no,
that leaves us with like Hoagie, Glover, we talked about, but man, what about Hoagie?
I'm trying my best not to play this guy that much because he keeps breaking my heart. He finished top 20 last week. Just I keep betting him
17th and 14th in 2 of the last 3 years, coming off a 17th, 29th, and an 8th in the last 3. Like, I think it's Hoagie.
Now, I have to tell you, there is an issue with Tom Hoagie. What happens, Tambo, when you leave TPC Scottsdale and you get out to the highway? What is on the other side of the highway near the course?
Is he going to the casino?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot about that. Who else would fit it? Max Homa, Dietrich? I don't know. Who else fits the mold?
I mean, I'll go to Fantasy National right now, and I'll click on the old who has done well at this tournament. Where's a course breakdown, tournament history. All right. So let's see.
Is Homa dead, by the way, while you're looking that up?
I mean, he's not performing on TGL, which is, that's step number one. That's Rory's whole thing. He tanks TGL so he can win real life golf tournaments now.
Did you see last night with the Fleetwood shot?
Yeah, when it screwed up twice. I think, obviously, I don't know much about like the simulator technology, but the one that they're using is one that like Tiger's invested in, and it's like significantly less reliable than TrackMan or whatever the other one is. Like there's two really good ones. This one's number 3, but it's not like I haven't used TrackMan and it hasn't picked up my shot before. I get that part of it, but I think it picked up the divot from the grass, which is not something you normally see on a simulator. I thought they would have accounted for that, but I think when Fleetwood hit his shot, it picked up the divot, not the ball.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. I was only thinking of it because I didn't see this one yet, so I'm trademarking it, but tech gear lacking, TGL.
I like it. They were new one, right? I didn't like their social media thing at all last night. Like they turned into Live, which they really should be leaning away from.
I saw you hit them up. You gave them a yo. You yo tagged them. That was good.
Well, yeah. I get that there is the want to be like, hey, there's random people like tweeting at you like, hey, this is really cool. Like, hey, I'm pumped about LA Golf Club. Like, hey, there's our guy Colin Morikawa making a great shot. You don't have to retweet like 300 of the positive things random people are saying towards you, because then it starts to sound like everyone already knows that you're paying people to talk about it, which is what turned out to be a great strategy move for TGL. It's gotten it into the consciousness where I think that people would have left it by the wayside anyway. But that's also what Live does, except they like pay non-people with platforms to tweet about it and then retweet them and show them on their broadcast. It's just really thirsty and makes you seem bush league.
I was going to write one about them, and so everybody would know it was a bit and just get them to retweet it. We've seen that on Live before, where people call their shot on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, and then they're on there all of a sudden. I was going to try that last night with TGL just to get the retweet.
So Hoagie actually does fit this. He has been T17, T14 2 of the past 3 years. The other course history guys that we could have used here is Billy Ho would be one of them. We can't quite get to Nick Taylor because he's too much money at $8,400. Homa is kind of one of them. He only has one top 10 here. The one that we kept like floating around that we saw that we could probably finagle it to make it work is Fitzpatrick. He's been T15 2 of the past 3 years.
Would you get rid of, you want to get rid of Woodland or let's get rid of Hoffman for the ownership, just to say Woodland.
I'd rather have Hoffman.
Well, let's see. Well, we'll see. Maybe we need that money and it's a possibility. So
to get up to Fitz, I mean, we can roll it this way. Like this one still works.
Okay. Well, who would you take of, I guess this is perfect timing to bring something up then. If you roll, who did you put in? Hoagie? Okay. If you put in Fitzpatrick over Hoffman, you land at 6,900. Does anybody on your stuff pop at 6,900?
Not really. Hadwin would be the closest, but he's playing like garbage.
Yes. Did you know Bud Cauley might be a play this week?
I heard that. It's funny because I always read my column from a year ago before I write my new one for the week. I send it out in the newsletter. Sub to the newsletter. Please do that. Smash the like, sub to the channel while you're here. Help us out, all right? It was the return of Bud Cauley at this tournament last year when he came back from like the 4-year absence he had after his wrist injury, the car crash, everything that had happened. He had played 2 Corn Ferry events and he played in this tournament. I like Bud Cauley enough. It's not going to be for me. I saw Roz's on him.
Just a note. Yeah, I'm going to bring this one up quick here. Well, everybody gets it, so I can't say we didn't talk about it in case he does good. If not, just forget it. But he withdrew recently and everybody's worried about it because it was undisclosed. But if you go on his Instagram and then his wife's Instagram, you can see that his baby was due in January. So it's going to be a little baby swag. It's his second baby, but still. And he had a 30th at the Sony. He played good at the Sony. He's been all right here, especially back in the day. But even the other try, I think when he was just here, it wasn't like the worst, right? When you said he came back last year, what was it? Made the cut at least. But yeah, I think he's interesting. Played good at the Sony, played good a couple events previous to that in the swing season. So a little baby swag for Bud Cauley.
I have a guy for you.
Who's the guy?
Ready for this? Matt McCarty. I believe he's $6,400. Local guy, won during the swing season. Has been kind of crappy since everything has switched over to the new season with real players. But it's a guy who won, what, 3 times, 2 times on Corn Ferry last year, instantly got a PGA win, got himself into the Masters. And he's been kind of on cruise control a little bit now that he has his card. But, you know, he won at the Black Desert course in Utah in the swing season. I don't think he did play Shriners. He ended up missing the cut. It's kind of hit or miss with him. He's kind of like Pan in that way. You know, it's a Pam situation, but now you add in Matt McCarty with it as well. That out, if he's used to these conditions, plays well in deserts, like why not? We've seen that he can win on the PGA Tour already.
Yeah, I don't hate it. It fits well with what you just had, dudes. You can get to Fitzpatrick, double Matt. Actually, you get Matt McCarty, Matt Fitzpatrick, and then you can go with whoever you want at 7,400, like we talked about earlier.
Yeah, Frankie Cappan would be the other one that I'd take a look at. He's local as well. He's never played in this before, but he's having like an up and down statistical year. But he was top 15 at the American Express like 3 weeks ago. He made the cut at Sony. He's made the cut every week this year.
Yeah, that gets us to the next build, though, Pat. You just got me to a good one here with everything you said because I'm on some of those guys.
Well, hold on one sec. Just hold on one sec. So
Okay.
I want to play this Hoagie lineup, the version with Hoagie, and I'm going to play that same version with what we just went through. So we're going to put in Matt McCarty, Matt Fitzpatrick.
Okay.
So get rid of Hoagie, get Fitz in there. Fitz is interesting. Like I'm going to keep using this guy until he, actually does something, I think.
Moves on with his life.
Yeah. Matt McCarty.
This got the nut build though off everything we've talked about today with a completely different style of build.
Okay, hit me.
So you go with 3 of the dudes we mentioned because when you start talking about McCarty, it's like, well, we already talked about Springer. You brought up Cappan. So if you put those 3 together to outdo, again, who knows? There's so many guys in the 7s anyway. There's 70 guys, like I said, between 6,500 and up, give or take. So put Springer, McCarty, Cappan. Put in Scheffler. And then find the most obvious 2v2 from what we've talked about today.
The most obvious 2v2, like from this range?
If most people see 9,100, they go right to 9,100.
Yeah.
And then you realize you would land on
Ben Ann and Robert McIntyre.
No, forget him. Leave him out. Bobby Mack and your boy Rasmus.
Oh yeah, there we go.
And you get Scotty with 2 9Ks, not a single 8 or 7. And you go down and you just go down with these 6K guys. Like whatever happens, the projection's off by like 18 or something or 20. It's not that bad. Maybe I'm exaggerating because I want it to sound better, but it's actually not great, but it's not bad. What
if we like as a 2v2 off those 2 guys who I do like them both. I mean, how much is Nikolai Højgaard? I didn't even look into that. I bet the dude to win didn't even look at that.
Super cheap, I think.
He's at $7,000. So him and Dunlap are both at $7,000. I think that's a nice way to mix in some of these guys as well. But I want to put Nick Taylor into this lineup because I want to play Nick Taylor this week because I just think that he's so squeezed based off of his pricing that's going to be hard to get to him, and he shouldn't be. There's no world where Nick Taylor in this current form should be less than Jordan Spieth. And $300.
I love it. We should definitely play Nick Taylor.
Nick Taylor, Sung Jae. Nick Taylor, could you go double Canadian?
My guy is Sung Jae. That's the perfect landing spot. Get on, put your guy on Sung Jae here. That's perfect.
There it is.
Double Canadian might work too.
Well, if you did double, so we can do it this way. So I have one other version of this we can do, and we'll play Connors instead of Sung Jae. But Scheffler, Sung Jae, Taylor, Cappan, McCarty, Springer. And it doesn't need to be those 3 guys. Like all those guys work, but McCarty can become Pan for actually, it's not exactly the same price. Or Cappan can become Nap if that's the way.
If you do the Corey Connors version,
you can go to Nap. That's what I would do, actually. I take Cappan up to Nap. But you can just play McCarty, Matt McCarty. Just to switch it up a little bit, I'll take Cappan down to Pan.
Well, you can do Nap and Hoey. This goes back to our previous version earlier.
Yeah, you could do that. So we'll play that one, and then you can play that exact same lineup and go double Canadian, and you can take out Sung Jae, drop him to Connors, and you can take Pan up to Nap, I believe. Maybe that doesn't work. Maybe it does. Pan up to Nap. Yeah, that works.
What is that one? It's Nap, Springer, McCarty.
Yeah, and then you can play Rico instead of McCarty too. So Nap, Hoey, Springer, Nick Taylor, Corey Connors, and Scotty Scheffler.
And I can also play Sung Jae in that lineup instead.
If you, not with Knapp and Hoey, you'd have to switch them back to McCarty.
Oh yeah. If you go with Hoey, that's the one. So I don't know. One of these is going to win. That's for sure.
That's the move. I'm going to start asking for questions in the live chat right now. If you have them, we're going to build some non-Scheffler lineups. Then we're going to get to the questions. The one thing I want to see is can we rig this where it's that basic semblance of a lineup, but instead of Connors, it's Burns. We need to find $300. That shouldn't be too hard, right?
What are you trying to get to over here? Scotty and Burns?
Scotty, Burns, Nick Taylor with the 3 guys at the bottom. Or we turn Taylor into Poston, but I like the idea of playing Nick Taylor in this lineup.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I guess there's not a better version, but there's something. Who's the we wouldn't have 2 $6,400 golfers though.
Okay, how much is Chan Kim? All right, so
no, you need to do. You go McCarty,
Knapp into Chan Kim, and Hoey into McCarty. Makes it work.
It's Knapp, Kim, and $6,400 Springer, right?
That's right.
Yeah. Funny, that projects a little bit better than some of the other ones too, because you get up to Burns.
That's probably what it is. That Burns is probably looked at as. Burns fit. You mentioned the course history that Burns has anyway, but big driver, that's been working well. His biggest problem is just like JT's biggest problem at this tournament over the years is that they find some way to birdie 7 holes in a row, then completely implode for 5 holes. And Burns does that like every week. It feels like he's there. It's like, oh, here's Burns coming up the leaderboard. Where the hell did Burns go? What happened?
Yeah. That's always the case with him. And it's also even like when he beat Scotty, what was it? The Valero that time? That was totally different too. It was like the wind factor, but he came out early on the Sunday morning and just blitzed it. And all of a sudden he was back into the mix. And you're like, oh, wait a minute. I want to do one more while the questions are starting, but Knapp and Dunlap together. Like you talk about guys that can actually win a tournament. So who else fits the mold with Knapp and Dunlap? If we just do like a bottom up build, and then see where we land at the end with Scotty 2v2s versus non-Scotties. This is another thing I like to do. Like think about guys you're serious about that can win and then move up from there. Who else fits with the Knapp Dunlap versus trying to make these other random guys that could just play well and score well as examples? You know what I mean?
I threw Nikolai into this. So Nikolai at 7,000, Dunlap at 7,000, Knapp at 68.
Okay, we got to get him into one anyway. So that Nikolai works. That's fine. So now we have 9,700-ish. What would it be like?
Could you go Decky?
Well, I want to do I want to do the end last. I want to put your Nick Taylor play in here.
Okay, then we can go like Decky, Justin Thomas then.
Yeah, that fits actually. Leaves $100.
Yeah,
don't hate it.
Like that has to be the version of the when we think about non-Scottie lineups. Like this has to be the type of lineup I think we need to be rolling with.
Yeah. Do you like there's Lee Hodges, Woodland, and Kirk all at 7,100. If you were playing instead of Nikolai, who would you pick? I'm just thinking for myself. Probably Hodges. Hodges or Woodland.
I can see Hodges being like mentally broken after what happened to him on the 72nd hole.
It's always a possibility. Like I like that type of build though.
Rory talked about it too. Your guy Mark Messier is only $7,000. Do you think it's Cam talked about his cocaine addiction last week. Would you go to Eric Cole? That guy plays legitimately every week. That's why he was that's why he ended up being the #1 pick in underdog best ball.
Yeah. It's nuts. He does play every week, but I think the more interesting thing is that JT Decky is Scotty Spieth. Funny enough, all those Scotty Spieth lineups we built as not a bit, but like, what if that happened? Obviously it could. Spieth played well here in the past, but just looking at it, if you play those two, any Scotty Spieth lineup could be Decky, JT.
All right, I want to play just like let's go Hideki because I'm thinking about betting him, and then we'll go Thigala, who I did bet. I bet Nick Taylor, and I bet Min Woo. What does that leave me with? It leaves me actually with the 7,000 guys. It leaves me with like Nikolai Dunlap, 2 guys that I bet as well. Interesting. So let's
put them in. That's perfect.
I'm going to do that, but I actually want to build a more balanced version of this lineup and not have to go down into the $7,000 area. It's just funny to see some of the names that are down there, like Dunlap and Nikolai, based on win equity, or at least what I perceive their win equity to be behind guys who just, I don't feel like they got it. Like Ben Griffin.
Yeah.
Like Ben Griffin's fine. Ben Griffin at 73 might be a play now that no one is using him. Now is the time to go back to Ben Griffin. But like guys that have, I guess they give no credit for winning international tournaments or anything like that. But you have these high variance guys where they're first or they're last versus the guy that comes like T29 every week.
That's what it is. Yeah.
So let's cut out all the 10K guys, which is probably a bad idea at this tournament, considering we talked about the name brands that win. But can you put like 4 name brand players into a lineup and feel good about it? Like, could you go Theegala, Ben Ann, Bobby Mack, Wyndham Clark? Now we're back into that same range again. Great. So no is the answer to that. Theegala.
What's crazy is if you just do Nick Taylor instead of Clark, you also land on your 2 7K guys that you like, Dunlap and Nikolai.
Okay, let's try it this way then. Let's go Theegala, Nick Taylor, Bobby Mack, Akshay, Minwoo, and that brings us back down to $7,000 again. You could throw Thorbjornsson in there. Matt Wallace, I think, is somewhat interesting. I did get some inside info that he's been there for like 2 weeks practicing, and he's someone who has played well in U.S. Opens. He played really well in that difficult PGA Championship at Bethpage, and he's just been, dude's won on the tour before as well, so I'll chuck him into this last one.
Yeah, I saw Kenny posted it yesterday talking about how he's been there practicing or something, and it was like sometimes it can be a bad thing, and he showed the picture of Hao Tong Lee. Remember on the range for however many hours that was, and just cratered himself from there.
I mean, I think the Chinese government was making him stay on the range. I'm not joking.
It was
about
a bad scene, yeah.
All right, let's play that one. Let's go to the questions. We are doing this live as we're going to be doing for most of the weeks now. I like the live version of this. It feels like more free flowing.
Yeah. Also, we forgot about Valimaki at 6,100.
He is wacky.
And I think when Valimaki does well, this is like eye test stuff, but I think Pan does well.
Really?
I just have a feeling of those two being on the leaderboard at similar times.
Let's see. Old wacky Valimaki. Valimaki is 6,100. I mean, that's my guy. Love wacky. Came through for me. 15th of the Farmers, based solely on putting. Where else did he do well? He did well in Mexico last year and at the John Deere. Those were the 3 tournaments where he played well. Didn't play in this.
$100 short of Bobby Mack.
For the
find the version.
For the all Chan Kim did well
who was it?
in Mexico last year
Who
too.
was the $6,600 guy? Forget Pan. We'll move off him. Go back to Chan Kim. Yeah, this is a nice lineup here, Pat. You'll like this one. Put this one in.
All right, now I need to open up more tabs now to play in this.
I'm sorry, but you will like this one. This is a good one.
Okay,
worth your time.
Hit me with it.
Scottie, Bobby Mack, Nick Taylor starts it off. Then you get Minwoo Lee with a big woo from you. And then you get Chan Kim Valimaki. And Chan Kim could also be McCarty if you'd rather use him.
Well, to your point with Chan Kim, he actually did well in that Mexico tournament where Valimaki ended up coming in second to Jake Knapp. Where's old wacky
That's
at?
the one. How do we get Jake Knapp into this?
You drop Minwoo into Knapp, and then you make Bobby Mack like someone good.
Let's do that.
All right. Let's do.
It's a nice one. This is a good way to do it.
Minwoo into Knapp, and then
if we keep Nick Taylor,
Bobby Mack becomes Sam Burns.
Yeah, that's a nice lineup.
Let's get wacky with Valimaki. Okay. Questions.
We got it in. Yep, let's go.
You can't ask a question unless you're sub to Mayo Media Network. So if you got a question, let's do that right now. How do you look at the historical 6 of 6 rates on cut sweats? You got to ask Nelson. Maybe you do know. You just said you did.
I don't think you can. I don't think it exists. So what I do is I go on X and I search using like advanced search and go back through and find it that way during the date of the period the tournament was on. It takes work. You got to put the time in, but that's how I get it. And then I make note of it and save it and put it out there for whoever I can when I'm on shows and doing content.
Let's see. Ryan in the chat said I got yelled at for calling him Capin, and I guess it's Sapin. You realize how little fucks I give about that. Win something and I'll learn your name. That's the rule. I'll call you whatever I feel like calling you until you're like a real person on the PGA Tour. Right now, they're just guys that were like these. They're just creative players at this point, aren't they?
Oh, wow. CAP, create a player.
There we are. Yeah, he is a legitimate. He's an AI player. Like, have you ever seen him on TV? No. They're just putting a name on a scoreboard and putting a score next to him.
Maybe this week.
Kitayama, model darling this week. Kitayama is the model darling every week. Remember the week you convinced me to play him and fucked my lineup so badly because he sucks.
Hey, we got to the same lineup last week and you did okay.
I know.
So made up for it.
I've been really against like playing him because I just feel like the stats are making him seem a lot better than he's actually been doing. Like there's a couple, like Norlander is another one that I mentioned. Just like, yeah, the stats are there. If you're putting up stats of that quality and you have no results to go along with it, there's like there's something missing that like the stats aren't telling us.
That's usually what the case is here. Yes. And that's, why you're getting some of these prices on these guys too, that I was just thinking of. We didn't build a lineup today that has the guys that are really crazy priced. Like, what was the one we said earlier? We started with Fitzpatrick, who was at 7,700.
Yeah.
And then wasn't Max Homa the guy we said at 7,300? Like, why is he 7K or whatever he is?
Yeah.
Who else fits this build? Like Berger might be close, but let's just see who else is there. Wyndham, like Wyndham's 85. I think he could have been a lot more.
Straka could be a lot more.
Could argue that. Yeah. Is there anybody else in the sevens that you see that just seems like way off?
Not really, to be perfectly honest with you. Like some guys seem like a bit overpriced, but like if we're just talking name value versus, I actually think Nikolai Højgaard is that guy.
So Sam Burns, Nikolai Højgaard rounds it out because Burns could obviously be up there higher than Decky and JT. Like last year, think about Burns versus JT over the last, before JT bounced back. There was definitely tournaments where Burns was up there and he's got history here. So maybe Nikolai's the guy, like you mentioned. Put that in.
Yeah.
Project's not bad.
What was the lineup?
It's bad. Burns, Straka, Wyndham Clark, and then you get Fitzpatrick, Homa, your boy Nikolai. Realistically, though, Nikolai should probably be Dunlap. Dunlap's the rookie of the year, priced at 7K, has wins over, like you said, we're talking about creative players for $200 less.
Now, of note, Nick Dunlap has won 2 tournaments with, I guess Dunlap did win tournaments with Burns and JT in it, but he won the American Express and then he won an alt field tournament. Like Nikolai doesn't have like the American wins, but he's won some like real tournaments in Europe. And he was in one of the final 4 groups of the Masters last year. Like he's a real dude too, I think.
That's true. Yeah, I'm good with that.
So either one of them. Like the one that worries me the most on this is Homa.
Of course.
You could take, based on his stat profile, like I believe he's number 3 in my power rankings this week, and just how he has played well over even the past 2 years. You could make a very good argument that Glover is underpriced.
Well, yeah, we talked about him off the top. Everyone knows Glover's underpriced.
Okay, yeah. So
yeah, he fits.
So that's the all overpriced team. This guy says seeing Scheffler 46 projected own in some spots. That's not a fucking question, asshole. Jesus Christ. You just go back to the fucking beginning. We talked about this. The fuck is wrong with you? I forgot why I don't love the live shows. I love the live shows for the good questions, not the non-questions. No one wants to hear you talk in my chat, you fucking asshole. Get out of here. Unsub, down smash, fuck off, go away. Now, you good people, you can smash like and sub to the channel to make up for that. And use code Mayo and Underdog and ask good questions. All right? Not terrible fucking statements that we've already fucking answered. What is Cam betting for the WM? I don't know. Everyone? Who is the one guy, Tambo, that we love that we shouldn't be playing? Like the Ben Raza, I'm playing this guy, that bit?
Yeah, Bud Cauley, I said.
It's probably Chan Kim for me.
Yeah.
Hayden Springer. Maybe I'll do that again. Maybe I'll play that top 40 parlay again. That won at 100 to 1 for Torrey Pines. It'll be like Springer, Chan Kim. Who are the other losers down there? Pan.
Hey, I can look it up live today because I'm recording from home. Let me just see this here. We're going to get a top 40 parlay in. You tell me the names in a second.
Okay.
And I will load them up here. I've got it. So I'm under top 40. I'm going to the bottom. You said
Springer, Chan Kim, CT Pan, Just those
Holy,
three.
Just 1 sec. I was on Hoey range, so I got to move it up. So Chan Kim, okay.
Chan Kim, Hayden Springer, and CT Pan.
Kim Springer.
Top 40 parlay. What does that pay?
We will find out here while you look at the next question.
The next question is Tom Kim, Scottie Scheffler lineups. Thoughts on that start? I mean, we talked about that. Who were the most common guys to be with Scottie Scheffler? Tom Kim would actually kind of be the top. I don't really have a ton of interest in Tom Kim this week. Do you?
We didn't talk a lot about him, but there's obviously a lot of guys up there that will still be plays. Like I think in that range, I think with Connors, Kim are the guys I kind of like more at the top, and then I like Bobby Mack at the bottom. So yeah, those guys are in play. It's just how do you play them, and what does that end up looking like when we build the lineups out to see what that shows up as.
Hey Pat, no love for the Gim Reaper. I like Gim enough. He's just not like my absolute favorite guy. He'll be in my player pool. Don't worry about that.
I got Chan Kim, CT Pan, and Springer.
Top 40?
Yeah, and it's 20-1.
Oh, I feel like that could be more. I guess the one that got really beefed up because like the reason that the top 40 parlay was such a big payout last time was because Valimaki was like 7-1 to be inside the top 40. I guess we're just not getting that this week.
Valimaki takes it up to 90-1.
Oh, there we go. Maybe go with a bit of wackiness. What are Valimaki's odds to win this week? Just so I can look at that range. Like 400, 600 to 1, something. Yeah, he's 700. He's 750 to 1. You know who's actually kind of interesting because he's playing good golf is Snedeker.
Oh God. Yeah, tough click.
He's $6,000, but honest to God, like it's not that he's like a return to form. He hasn't missed a cut this year. He's just putting the lights out.
Would you rather 65-1 with McCarty or 90-1 with Valimaki?
I mean, they're both kind of crappy, so why not Valimaki?
And it rhymes. Crappy Valimaki.
Crappy Valimaki. Crappy McCarty doesn't really work. Maybe I'll play around with this, but I do like this Springer, Pan, and Chan Kim. What's Jake Knapp's top 40? It's probably not good, right?
Not going to help us a bunch, but obviously, yeah, it boosted much more than. I'm just going to first put a better number on those three because I feel like those three are good, and then I'm going to reuse them, and then find Jake Knapp.
So what I'll probably do is I'll have I'll find out what I decide on this, and whatever I end up betting, it'll be a round robin of sorts where it's like a flex play on underdog. You don't need to go 5 of 5. If you go 4 of 5 or 3 of 4, depending on how many legs on it, you'll still win anyway. Even if it's like a $10 on each of the legs. So if you do it 3 times, it'll be like a $50 bet on the 10, even if you do the 4 of 4 as well. I like those. Those are fun. It keeps me from playing too many of these guys in DraftKings. Now I feel like I have the sweat equity that I want on these guys.
This is a good one though. The Kim, Pan, Springer, and you add Jake Knapp, it's almost 55. It's like a really fair, good number. I like that.
All right. That's probably the one that we're going to end up doing, and I'll have it included in the newsletter at the end. We'll see if there's any more questions for you over there. Well, balance builds outscore Scottie lineups. Thoughts? I mean, if Scottie wins, no.
Yeah, those questions are tough because it's just exactly that. Depends on Scottie.
Do you like Glover or Novak?
I can tell you, but both of them are going to be pretty owned, I think. So probably like Novak a little more.
Okay. Let's see. What do you think Valimaki's ownership will be? I don't know, 0.1%, maybe 0.2 now that we've talked about him.
Yeah, exactly that.
Not very high. Would you feel comfortable running out Glover in one and done? I mean, he fits that mold of guys that we were talking about. Why not? It's not like he can't win.
I don't even know if Glover would ever make a tournament for me, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, maybe John Deere, if that's where you were looking, like one of those tournaments, if he was the best guy. Ricky or Billy Ho, I'd play Billy Ho. Thoughts on Villegas already as a top 10? Not for me.
Watching this in the middle of a national sales meeting, comment.
Smart. Like that. I
kind of got to give him credit. Not a question, but that great comment.
As someone who got their Twitter hacked while being in a meeting, because I was like half paying attention to both and not listening to anything, I know what it's like to be sitting in a meeting you don't want to be in, where you're not talking and you actually know probably what's going on more than the guy talking. That absolutely sucks. Yeah, do anything to get out of that. So maybe watching our show is the way that you want to go. Smash the like, sub to the channel. Well, you'll be here and we'll do more of these live shows. Again, we're going to be trying to do this every single Wednesday, 9 a.m. Eastern time live. Last two questions. One from Phil says, we'll see be under-owned. I think he'll be owned as much as he should be. Single digits, like 8% or something.
Yeah, like him, and it's hard to say who of him and Poston will be more popular, but then there's also the spawn factor and the Minwoo steam and things like that. So I think they all just get kept in check somewhere in that, 10 to 15% range, and maybe one of them even falls under 10%. We'll see. But yeah, they're not going to be high owned. It's not something to worry about. If you want them, play them. It's fine.
Any Nate Lashley love? Seeing a lot of Scottie Lashley lineups. I mean, I'm not seeing a lot of Scottie Lashley lineups. He's the only guy that I bet to be first round leader. That is the exposure I want to Nate Lashley this week.
I just found out he was in the field right now. Like, yeah, I don't think you're seeing any of those lineups unless you're building them.
No, I'm not building them. Yeah, maybe that's why.
The person.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm gonna start Scottie Lashley. I'm seeing a lot of Scottie Lashley lineups this week.
Did you press lock by accident on your optimizer and then press build? Because that's not what I'm seeing.
What do you guys got going on at Ship It this week? I know Code Mayo works over there, and DGen has his live stream tonight, right?
Yes, that is correct. Lots going on, lots of exciting news coming down. We've been teasing it a lot lately, so we'll have a full thing coming out in the next couple of weeks. But right now, the best time to get in is now. You can use Code Mayo to get a discount, and you've got tons going on with NFL Showdown for the Super Bowl coming up. MMA is back. There's like 7 straight weeks of DFS. NBA, NHL daily. NASCAR is coming back for the Daytona 500 in a week and a half or something. So lots of sports going on right now.
Stay tuned to the Pat Mayo Experience. Me, Rob, and Cam will be back with best bets for the Super Bowl. Do you know who else I'm planning on doing a prop show with for Friday? Any guess? One guess from our space. I booked this guest. We haven't recorded it yet, so I don't know if he's going to show up. But if he does, he'll be here.
What's the topic?
Super Bowl props.
Oh, prop show, you said. Sorry. Joe Holka.
Tommy G.
Oh, wow. Okay. I just saw Joe Holka resurface on a Lulz episode, so I thought maybe you would sort of pull from the pool and bring it back around, but Tommy G it is.
That's the way that we're doing it. So, yeah, that is what we're doing the rest of the week. Plus, I'm going to have an NHL preview for this random NHL 4 Nations tournament that's going on. Meanie and my guy Jake Hahn will be on the show for that. And we might even do some DraftKings for Super Bowl as well. Plus, all of my underdog plays in the newsletter, which is completely free. Go sub to that right now. It's down in the description, or Mayo Media on Substack. I'll have the article on Twitter as well. If you see it up there, it'll be pinned to my profile. Please share that around. Hit the like button for it. Comment back for it. We need those comments to drive the engagement. So far, so good on those fronts. Those keep doing well every single week. You enjoy the Waste Management Phoenix Open. Enjoy some live this weekend underneath the lights, although it'll be happening in the morning in America. And we got some Cutter. A lot of good golf going on right now this week, the week of the Super Bowl. So a lot of pre-gaming you can do before you end up watching the big game, which you should use Code Mayo for on Underdog and get some of that free money in your hands. All right. I'm Pat Mayo. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.